In a quiet monastery tucked between ancient mountains and endless pine forests, there lived an old Zen master named Ryokan. His hair was silver, his robe always simple, and his eyes held the stillness of deep water. He had guided many monks in their path to awakening, but his methods were often mysterious, even confusing. One rainy evening, as clouds clung low to the valley and mist curled around the stones of the monastery, a young monk named Daiichi came to Ryokan with a troubled heart. "Master," he said, bowing deeply, "I feel empty. There is noise in my mind, yet silence in my heart. I meditate, I chant, I serve, yet something inside me is aching. I think I'm lonely." Ryokan studied the boy's face, seeing not just pain but potential. "Ah," said the master softly, "so you've met loneliness." Daiichi looked surprised. "Yes, master, but I thought I wasn't supposed to feel this way. Isn't the path of Zen meant to bring peace?" Ryokan's smile was barely visible, like the sun behind fog. "Peace," he said, "is not the absence of loneliness. Sometimes it is found because of it. Then bow to your fear. Invite it to sit beside you." The trail to Mount Hashin was steep, winding through wild groves and ancient stone paths. As he climbed, the monastery became smaller behind him, and the world opened before him in raw, beautiful silence. Then keep watching the mountain. Loneliness settled into his bones like the cold. Pack your robe, your bowl, and a blanket. You are to go to Mount Hashin. Stay there for 40 days. Why am I here? What am I meant to learn? Speak to no one. Listen to the wind. The wind sang through the trees, and the stars blanketed the sky like silent companions. He noticed the stars, not just saw them, but really noticed them. Their quiet persistence, their unshaken presence. They had been shining alone in the sky for eternity, never seeking applause, never fearing darkness. He drank from streams, foraged berries, and found peace in the simple act of breathing. Eat what nature offers. Sleep beneath the sky. He walked barefoot through the forest, feeling the texture of the earth. In his deepest moment of solitude, when he thought he had no one, he felt more connected to everything. The trees, the stones, the sky, they weren't just things. They were him. He was them. There was no separation. He watched ants build, watched the clouds drift, and listened to the sound of his own heartbeat. Then return. Daiichi tilted his head. "I don't understand." "You will," the master said. Daiichi's eyes widened. "Alone?" Ryokan nodded. "Completely." Daiichi hesitated. "What if I feel afraid?" Ryokan chuckled. And so it began. The next morning, before the sun had even touched the monastery roof, Daiichi set off. For the first 2 days, Daiichi found it freeing. But by the 5th day, the silence grew loud. He missed the sound of bells in the temple. He missed the quiet murmurs of other monks. He missed knowing someone was near. He sat by a rock one evening and whispered to the sky. The mountain said nothing. The wind rustled leaves. He wept. And that night, as he lay beneath a tree, something happened. A thought came like a breath. Even the stars are alone, and they still shine. Over the next days, Daiichi changed. He no longer fought his loneliness. He sat with it. He welcomed it as a teacher. And one morning, around the 21st day, he noticed something extraordinary. He laughed aloud. And then he cried again. But this time, not from sadness, from awe. Buddhist Zen master and monk story. On the 40th day, Daiichi returned to the monastery. His robes were dusty. His beard had grown. His eyes were different, clear, still like the master's. Ryokan was sitting in the garden, trimming a bonsai tree. Daiichi bowed. "I've returned." Ryokan didn't look up. "I thought loneliness was a prison, but it was a door." "Did you find what you were looking for?" "I found something I didn't know I had lost." Daiichi answered. "No," Ryokan nodded. "And what was that?" "Myself," Daiichi said. "Yes, at first. I only had to become quiet enough to hear the connection. But then I realized loneliness is not empty. It's full of everything you've forgotten to feel. The world speaks when you're silent enough to listen. Now you understand. Loneliness is not the enemy. It is the silence in which the truth whispers. Ryokan smiled. Daiichi sat beside him in silence for a long time. That evening, during the tea ceremony, he stood before the younger monks. They were curious, some afraid of the silence he had faced, some inspired. One asked, "Brother Daiichi, weren't you scared being so alone?" He smiled gently. Another asked, "Would you do it again?" Daiichi replied, "It was never about doing it again. It was about realizing that I was never truly alone, not once. And when I did, I found the entire universe waiting there." Then Daiichi turned toward the window, watching the moon rise. He whispered, almost to himself, "Loneliness taught me to sit with my soul." And now, dear listener, perhaps you feel it too. Maybe in your life, there are moments when you feel alone. Perhaps in a crowd, or late at night, or during a quiet morning when no one calls. And you wonder, why do I feel this emptiness? Sit, watch the sky, listen without demanding. Be still, but remember Daiichi. Remember the mountain, the stars, the silence. Loneliness is not a punishment. It is a path. A space where your soul begins to speak. A quiet forest where your true voice returns. So next time you feel lonely, breathe. You'll find, as he did, that loneliness is not the absence of others. It is the presence of yourself. And in that presence is peace. If this story touched your heart even a little, I invite you to do what Daiichi did after his return. He began sharing his journey with others quietly, humbly, so that someone else feeling lost might find a path. You can do the same, like this story if it brought you calm. Comment and share how loneliness has shaped your own journey. And subscribe to Wisdom Woven so you don't miss the next story that might awaken your soul. Until then, sit with silence. It has so much to say.